All right, Kirk, it's week 1, man.
Here we are.
You ready to go?
I am ready to go. I'm excited. It's about time.
Yeah, it's I think when you invest in and embrace the off-season program, the mini camps, training camp, the preseason, it's just a really slow burn.
It is.
And now we're getting paid because now the games start for real. But think about all the time and work that you guys have put in. I think you started April 14th.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
but middle of April.
I mean, when you look at it, it's 9 weeks of an off-season program, and you have about 6 weeks of preseason. So that's 15 weeks of prep time with the coaches, not counting February workouts on your own, March workouts on your own, July workouts on your own. I mean, I remember driving to work out with my trainer in Atlanta in late February.
Yeah.
All for now, all for this moment. And also, it's only a 16-game regular season, so to have 15 weeks of prep time with your coaches for a 16-week season, if you will, I mean, you've put in just as much work to get ready as you will actually playing. So it's go time now.
Yeah. I think, folks in the NFL in this business, whether you're on the content side like we are, the football side like you are, routine is king. Don't you think? Like everyone sort of really relies on that routine. And week 1, I just feel like it's not quite the routine.
No, it isn't.
Because you have actually a few extra days to get ready. And so Monday doesn't really feel like a Monday, and Tuesday doesn't. So we're not quite into that routine. Is that how you feel too?
Yeah, as Gary Kubiak said a couple days ago at practice, he said it's a long 10 days from the last preseason game until the first regular season game. And so you have to pace yourself. You try to find your rhythm. Coach Zimmer, has had us have some bonus practices, obviously, but also given us some time off as well to really more mentally catch a break than even physically. And, I think we're going to start here later this week and start to get into that rhythm. It's a very different rhythm. Even practice is very different from a training camp practice. We have, scout teams and cards, and it's just got a different feel to it. And so you jump into that in-season rhythm now, and here we go for the next 17 weeks.
When you look at an Atlanta Falcons defense, which is run by Dan Quinn, what is that? Like, we all know because we see Zim's defense every day, so we're familiar with that. What's, give us the sort of the identity of a Dan Quinn defense. So
Dan actually comes from Seattle.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of principles that carry over from what Seattle has done now for almost a decade. Several other teams in the NFL are now using this defense as well, and we've played a couple in previous years, and we'll play a couple later in this year. But it's going to be a heavy amount of single safety. They're not predicated on a lot of confusion or pressure. They're really trying to just line up and make sure that they're not busting. There's a lot of spot drop zone players who are going to get to their zone and then eyes on the quarterback. And when they see the ball out, they go find the ball. And because they play a repetitive defense and they know where they're going to be, they can play fast, and they're rarely going to get confused. You're rarely going to trick them. And as long as they're stopping the run, they can make it really difficult for teams. And as a quarterback, you have to be patient. You have to take what they give you because they are very good at preventing explosive plays. And if that's the case on Sunday, then I need to be patient. I need to take the open guy underneath, settle for a 5 or 6 yard gain, and trust that we can sustain a long drive.
Yes. I have a hard-hitting question for Kirk.
Okay.
What's up with the beard? Are we growing it out, or what are we doing?
It's day to day right now.
I like
week to week. I've gotten a lot of positive comments from people in general, locker room and beyond, and so that's been good.
Whose idea was it?
It started in the cafeteria, middle of training camp. Adam and Garrett, I don't even know what triggered them to say it. I set my food down, sat down. They looked at me and said, we both were commenting, we think you look pretty good with a beard. And at the time, I didn't have one.
It gives you character.
Yeah, and I said, well, I used to grow one out, and I actually showed them a picture of a couple of years before when I had one. And so I said, I'll grow one out. And they said, okay. And so I think the original agreement was that they would too, but as time has passed, I don't know if they really have.
Can it be like a Fitzpatrick type deal?
Well, I saw Josh Klein earlier today, and he's got a thicker beard. Yeah. And I said, Josh, I think I'm going to grow mine until I can reach Josh Klein status and have it be a little thicker. And if it does, then we'll make a decision at that point. But I've never grown it really past where it is right now. So
Now,
what about growing it out back here?
Well, yeah,
Like
right.
Jared,
Yeah.
Jared Allen
oh
style.
boy, I don't know if I can pull that off.
The look is good. Like, folks like the look of when you grow facial hair. A lot of folks like the look of it. Now, but the folks at home that you got to snuggle up with and give kisses to, mom and kids, sometimes they don't
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, my wife is okay with it.
Okay, good.
She wasn't a
My
few years
girlfriend
ago.
hates it, so and I get nothing.
A few years ago, she didn't like it, and that's why I didn't have one. And then she actually commented as well that looking back at old photos, I think I can deal. So here we are. I got it back, and she's not complaining.
Okay,
so.
now Chris got me off track because I was all into the lots
I'm
of
sorry,
single
but I
high
had to-
safety.
I had
Like,
to-
I'm
now
just
we're
like,
talking facial hair.
So-
I had to loosen them up a little
All right,
bit.
so now back to the Falcons. I remember because we've played the Seahawks a bunch of times, like in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, just
Yes.
for whatever the reason. And I see Earl Thomas in the middle of the field, and I see Cam Chancellor on the second level. That's what I see.
Yeah.
And is that what you're talking about with?
Yeah,
with
you're going to get
Atlanta?
Ricardo Allen in the middle of the field, Keanu Neal in the box. I think that the teams who have adopted this scheme have actually tried to draft towards it,
Yeah.
copying, what that scheme was in Seattle and the
Yeah.
players they had. And, Trufant's is their top corner and is one of the top corners in the league, and he's meant to be a Richard Sherman, if you will. So there are a lot of similarities, and every team's going to have their own wrinkles. Bob Sutton's now in there as a defensive coach who's going to help add some wrinkles, but it's a popular scheme around the league.
It's a really cool test for you guys because all offseason you guys have been talking, or Zim's been talking about the running game. Right? We want to run the ball better, and then sort of the fruits of the labor we kind of saw because you guys were great running the ball in the preseason. In fact, we led the NFL in yards per
Did we really?
game
I didn't even know
rushing
that.
in the
Oh,
preseason.
I'll take that.
Now, we didn't lead in total rushing yards because the Falcons played 5 preseason games.
Yeah, well,
so
that's a different story.
Right, but per game, we led the
like
NFL.
that.
So anyway, it's a cool test because they're going
Yeah.
to come in committed to stopping it. You guys
Sure.
are coming in hot as a rushing
Sure.
offense. So it's going to be a fun test.
Yeah, at the NFL level, I've never walked into a game like you do in Pop Warner, and you can just pound it and run it over and over and over. I mean, you do need to convert third downs, dropping back. You do need to have some wrinkles, play actions, different pieces. You got to have variety, but let's be honest, the teams that can run the football and assert their will, it makes a big difference, not only week one, but all season long.
Yeah. Who do you really enjoy talking ball with on our team or coaching staff? Is there anyone that you just have great dialogue with all the time? It could be a defender too. I mean, anyone in the building?
Yeah, well, I do love going across the ball. I think Barr, Kendricks, and Harrison Smith are 3 that have played in this scheme a long time, have played football a long time, know this league, have stories to tell. And I played against them twice, and so I love to also pick their brains about those games. But I think they're fun to talk to and see how they see the game and how they see my player, our offense. I think Linval Joseph is another name I'd throw in there, Everson Griffin. Just guys who have played a long time. And I say, hey, what are you noticing on the other side of the ball that I'm doing? Any tells, anything I'm giving away, or what scheme-wise is challenging for you to have to defend?
Yeah. Josh Doxson, what should we know about him?
Well, I played with him for 2 years in Washington, and being a first-round pick, obviously, I think even he'd tell you that he hasn't lived up to the expectations that were placed on him, but I still think he's a very talented player. And I remember one of the things he could do is he could jump out of the gym.
Okay.
And so that's a trait that, hopefully we can put to use one way or another. There were a couple plays, I remember one against New Orleans, one against the Raiders, where he's covered, but I just throw it to him saying, go get it.
Yeah.
And he did. He jumps up and he grabs it. And, we have obviously Diggs and Thielen at the receiver position, so we're not asking him to be a world beater or a hero by any means or carry this passing game, but to be a guy who can, spell them, be a wrinkle, I think there is some value that he can bring there. And I think an interesting thing that's hard to put a value on is that he and I have time on task together.
Yeah.
And right now, time is not time is not something we have a lot of. We have to get going. And so to know, hey, I've got 2 years of routes on air, 2 years of one-on-ones, 2 years of games with this guy, I can rely on that and lean on that even if he's only been here for a day.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to watch Michigan State?
I did. I tuned in.
Good.
I watched the entire game, and I thought the defense looked good. I think our offense has some room to grow, but hey, that was what is week one all about?
That's right.
I'm teasing his show here. We actually talked to the head coach, Kirk's head coach for under center with Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
Which
Yeah.
was awesome to see you guys connect. And
Yeah, my Michigan State head coach, Mark D'Antonio, and the basketball coach.
got
We're gonna have
Tom
both of
Izzo
them
on
our
the
show,
line,
so
so
that
watch
should be
out
fun.
from his lake house.
Yeah, and like Michigan State basketball or football is on TV a lot. Okay, so folks know those two coaches
Sure.
when they see them, so
Sure.
they'll be interested in hearing that. How was the first go around with Mark Rosen?
Oh, it was outstanding.
Good.
Mark is just a class act. I'm so glad that I get the chance to do this show with him, and I think we're gonna have a lot of fun together. And let's make it a great year on the field,
Yes.
and I think we're gonna have a great show off the field each
Hey,
week as well.
The shows are going to be a lot better if you win a bunch of games.
Well said.
It'll
I
be
know
way-
that very
it'll be
well.
way easier to put together. That's for
A
sure.
lot of things will be a lot
Yeah.
better if we win a lot of games, right, guys?
Yeah, I think we all agree on that.
I agree.
All right, man. We're going to release you now so you can keep getting
Yeah.
ready for the Falcons
back to
because
film.
that's pretty important.
Yeah, I'm
Awesome.
not asking you to come in here
Yeah.
for the rest of the week.
All right, guys. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Kirk. Appreciate it, man.
See ya.